Let's take a look at the Naviate Fabrication March release version 3.8. As a reminder, you can find that on our downloads page right down here. We will see that 3.8 with a 2019 to 2025 installer. Back to those release notes also available on the website in release news. We're going to make our way through each of these updates listed below. We'll find there's some general overhaul and updates to the hanger and trapeze tools and RFAs, but where it gets really nice is some of the workflow updates we've added. We'll be looking at how to configure multiple services to one configuration, the new and improved trapeze array configurations, letting you build out a specific configuration for those trapezes, the Trapeze Over Under command, Trapeze Multi-Rack command, the manual strut command, a couple new modeling commands, and we'll take a brief look at data sync at the very end here. If you would like to see more about any of these individual features, absolutely jump in to go look at that release news. There is step-by-step workflows, guides, and additional information about every single one of these. The first thing you'll notice when you jump in here is a few new commands running across that ribbon. We'll see a few of those modeling commands waiting up here, but I think more importantly, I'd like to go ahead and highlight these fab modeling tools over here. That includes everything from those hanger tools over to those sleeve tools. Where previously we might have found those configurations inside these dropdowns, we'll find that these dropdowns have now been split for generic hanger placement, trapeze hanger placement, those same rod tools you've had as always, and then those sleeve tools waiting over here. What you'll find is that distinct lack of a configuration tool. In this little arrow below for fab model, we will find both the hanger array configurations as well as those sleeve options. Sleeve options are the same as normal, so let's go take a look at those hanger array configurations. As we pop in here to look at those configurations, we'll see there's a couple new things showing up here. We'll have the hanger and trapeze options here, giving us two different sets of settings for a little bit additional information inside here. On top of those two settings, we'll also find that there's associated services, where we may find that there's one or multiple services associated. You'll also catch that we're graying out services that can't be associated. Now, while we look at this ductwork, it seems pretty standard, but let's jump in and maybe set something up for some pipe. I'm thinking the heating hot water return. As we jump up to find that service, we can go ahead and grab that heating hot water return right here and add that to the right. We'll find once I've added that heating hot water return, anything else that may be similar can also get added. So I'm thinking our hot water supply, chilled water return, and chilled water supply are all maybe going to run with a very, very similar layout, especially given they are the exact same types. As we click OK, we can pop in now and say by generic standard, maybe I would like to go ahead and just use a clevis. But we can also then jump in to that trapeze setting and choose the type of trapeze hanger we would like it to run with as well. So when we run a trapeze tool against any of these four services, I would like to go ahead and maybe use that, maybe not half-inch rod, but 3/75-inch rod strut hanger alongside these elements. Just like before, we can still pop in and add those strut increments, do those buffers, do those offsets. We now just have a fully separate trapeze setting to work with. So the new news inside our hanger configurations is building out a specific trapeze setting that will work with our trapeze tools, alongside those generic array settings for that generic array, and the ability to associate more than one service at a time. And we'll find as we open that up again after making some selections, we may find that there's only a couple other options in here that can be used, which would make a lot of sense given they are the exact same type as we look over to the right. Right. As we jump in, let's go ahead and take a look at some of those tools. We'll find that there's those standard hanger array tools like the basic array and the hanger single, working how we'd expect, where you grab that run, come up and run that hanger array to go ahead and get a clevis placed along that entire path. If we reverse backwards though, we may find that I'd rather use a trapeze hanger across all of these elements instead. So if we choose a straight run, we can jump right up into fabrication and run that trapeze array tool instead. We'll find that trapeze array is now asking me to choose the extent of those objects. So choosing that run furthest to the right and clicking OK we'll find is now the reference for the rest of those hangers to extend out to. In that same first dropdown, we'll find a manual strut tool as well. That manual strut tool is going to allow us to pop in and choose either a strut family we have provided, or if you look up above, any of the ITM parts that are inside your project as well. If you choose an ITM family, do try to choose one that doesn't actually have a rod associated with it. Those rods do have a minimum length and they will be showing up. For this example, we're going to just use that generic Naviate strut instead. Once we choose that and click OK, we'll notice that it is actually allowing me to go ahead and place this on a work plane. So if we go ahead and pop into this section view, we'll see that I've actually already created us a level 1 support strut reference plane right at the top here. So let's close that out and stick that 3D view next to that 2D view and see that strut we're about to create pop up. As we pop back into 2D, we can choose manual strut, the family we want, the reference plane I would like it to host to, level 1 support strut. And then from here, I get to go ahead and choose from point to point where I would like it placed. So I'm going to start at the wall, and we're going to extend over this way. And, maybe I know there's another wall sitting right above that duct. We can go to here. We'll see that that strut hosts itself directly against that reference plane, and wherever that reference plane moves, that strut will move with it. So you can host multiple struts to the same plane, struts to different planes, and you also have the option to go in here afterwards and add an additional offset from that plane as needed. Moving from that first column into the second column, we'll see a few different tools in here. We've already taken a look at that trapeze array, so let's take a look at the other 4 that are waiting inside here for us. Now, one of these is going to be something we've seen before. That's Trapeze Update. Trapeze Update is that tool that allows us to go ahead and grab a few elements, click Finish, and then extend those to go further than the original layout. So a quick way to go ahead and update where those elements are located and update the height that they're associated to as well. Outside of that trapeze update, there's also a trapeze single for when maybe I don't want to run the entire array here, but I know that I need a trapeze hanger to run across all 4 of these. You'll click once to place the first one, again to choose that extension, and it will automatically extend it between both of those. Jumping in, let's go ahead and take a look at the 2 other versions of trapezing, Trapeze Over Under and Trapeze Multi-Tier Rack. Let's go ahead and start with Trapeze Over Under. Trapeze Over Under is going to ask me to choose my host element first. And if I only have one, as we see there's just this one run underneath, you can choose 2 items in that same run to accomplish that goal. We'll see next it's asking me to go ahead and choose the hangers I would like to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this whole rack here so that all of these can be copied down to support the below. As I click Finish, we'll find it generates another rack right below that top rack, but only including the elements I've chosen. If we go ahead and click on any of those runs, we'll see that those rods terminate at the height of the hanger above. So what we're going to find is Trapeze Over Under is for adding a hanger that hangs off of a hanger. Now let's do something a little bit more interesting with our multi-rack tool. Jumping over this way, I'm actually going to give us a 3rd tier to work with to make this really interesting. So anytime we've got that multi-tier rack, it can get a little cumbersome having too many of those families waiting for us. So if we jump up here and we go ahead and do that multi-tier rack, we can go ahead and choose this collection of elements across the top, hit Finish, and we'll find that it's now going to ask me what hangers I would like to use for those interstitial levels. What's going to happen here, guys, we're going to go ahead and set up one set of hangers across the bottom with rods that go all the way up to structure. We'll then use this ITM to build out each individual tier. That way we have one rod that encompasses the full length, but we can still show that angle iron for each additional tier we're working with. So I'm going to go ahead and use that same trapeze hanger, click OK, choose the other tiers I would like to work with. And then once we click Finish, we'll find that it's able to extend that first hanger down to the bottom. It then adds in that individual strut for those other 2 levels that we need to work with. And we're now able to use one rod to support all 3 racks while still showing those individual angle irons for the other levels. As we take a look up inside Fab Routing, we'll find there's a pretty nice update for Reroute Under Over, Reroute Around, and Kick 90. These three tools letting us do some of those commands or maybe routes we've done in the past a little bit easier. So anyone using Naviate may remember the standard little connection we do over here, allowing us to go ahead and go to each of those elements, bloom them out, work with those spaces, and connect these things together a little bit easier. Some of those were very easy, doing those trim to corners for the elements that are at the right height, but that second height being where it gets a little bit annoying. So something like Kick 90 will actually let us skip that multi-step process we've done in the past. Now just calling out that 45 or 90 we'd like to work with, choosing our 90 side first to our 45 after. So if I'd like to go from a 90 here to a 45 here, we'll see we're able to choose those and have it just extend those into place for us. We'll find that this really starts to differ from that route in fill because we're not adding any extra couplings. We are just extending these over and allowing those runs to exist. So a very, very quick way for us to go ahead and start getting those items modeled. If we jump down and think about a rack location where maybe we're clashing with a little bit of structure, this is where that over-under comes into play and gets really, really nice. So maybe we know there's a little bit of a structure clash here, and I'd really like to just drop down, come over, and bring it back up. We can actually grab this entire run at a time, jump up to Fabrication, and use Reroute Under Over. It'll ask me to choose a left side cut, a right side cut, an offset, and an angle. So I'm going to do a 1 foot drop here, and we're going to do a 90-degree bend. Clicking OK, it's actually going to go through to each one of those items in that run and go ahead and do that drop, that route over, and that reconnection for us. Again, leveraging all of those route and fill procedures we've already set up using the correct fittings, and just giving us something very quick to work with. Something else to consider as we look at some of these routes is maybe mixing a few of these commands together. Using over under is a very good way to get that lower route in, but maybe since we're so close to that corner, I would want to delete some of that stuff out to go ahead and use that Kick 90 to bring these back together instead. So again, doing that 45 and then maybe rolling from that 90 down to a 45 and allowing us to just keep running this for each of those runs as we go, making maybe a little bit more of a streamlined curve rather than dealing with those double bends afterwards. And again, if you'd rather have gone straight and done a 90 to a 90, that 90 to 90 is available, or you can even just do that trim to corner tool as well. The last tool I'd like to introduce you to is Data Sync. Data Sync has been around for a little bit in some of the other tool sets, so if you would like some additional information about it, definitely check out the website. There's quite a bit of info floating about Data Sync. The intent behind Data Sync is to allow us to grab a detail item and link that detail item to a Revit family, a piece of information inside Revit, so that the data tracks between the two of them. Detail items are often used in those drafting views, so this is a way that we can have data maintained across multiple elements without siloing that data. So opening up Data Sync, we'll see we have a few options inside here. The first thing is going to be to select the element we want to work with. So for me, choosing that select element, I'm going to go ahead and choose that terminal we have over on the right, that coil, right? So we got this guy right here selected for us. As we look in the top right, we'll see that there's some options for what parameters we'd like to sync. Now I know that my mark value is actually where my item number is, so I'm going to sync that item number over to my detail item. I'm not going to choose the detail item or multiple items. You actually have a choice. You could sync from one to many if you would like to. Now, that data I have filled out was actually filled out from my model item, so I'm actually going to sync from model to detail. If that detail had been filled out previously, maybe you had a diagram with all your info, and you'd like to push that info to your model, then you would sync to element. But in this circumstance, I'm syncing from element to detail. So sync to detail should go ahead and bring that information over here for us. Clicking that finish button pushes the data through, and we'll now find that NV mark value down below with that VAV001. What's so interesting about this is that data is not just copied over. If it turns out through the course of this project, this item is actually going to update to now be a VAV 005. Coming back over to that detail item, we'll see that that automatically updates as well. So this is a very, very easy way for us to go ahead and track data between multiple elements and make sure that that data is updating and synced across both.